Lesson 60, Too Early and Too Late. In this last lesson, we'll talk about being punctual. First of all, listen to the text and answer this question. Why did the young girl miss the train?
Punctuality is a necessary habit in all public affairs in civilized society. Without it, nothing could ever be brought to a conclusion. Everything would be in a state of chaos. Only in a sparsely populated rural community is it possible to disregard it. In ordinary living, there can be some tolerance of unpunctuality. The intellectual, who is working on some abstruse problem, has everything coordinated and organized for the matter in hand. He is therefore forgiven if late for a dinner party. But people are often reproached for unpunctuality when their only fault is cutting things fine. It is hard for energetic, quick-minded people to waste time, so they are often tempted to finish a job before setting out to keep an appointment. If no accidents occur on the way, like punctured tires, diversions of traffic, sudden descent of fog, they will be on time. They are often more industrious, useful citizens than those who are never late. The over-punctual can be as much a trial to others as the unpunctual. The guest who arrives half an hour too soon is the greatest nuisance. Some friends of my family had this irritating habit. The only thing to do was ask them to come half an hour later than the other guests. Then they arrived just when we wanted them. If you are catching a train, it is always better to be comfortably early than even a fraction of a minute too late. Although being early may mean wasting a little time, this will be less than if you miss the train and have to wait an hour or more for the next one. And you avoid the frustration of arriving at the very moment when the train is drawing out of the station and being unable to get on it. An even harder situation is to be on the platform in good time for a train and still to see it go off without you. Such an experience befell a certain young girl the first time she was traveling alone. She entered the station 20 minutes before the train was due. Since her parents had impressed upon her that it would be unforgivable to miss it, and caused the friends with whom she was going to stay to make 2 journeys to meet her. She gave her luggage to a porter and showed him her ticket. To her horror, he said that she was 2 hours too soon. She felt in her handbag for the piece of paper on which her father had written down all the details of the journey and gave it to the porter. He agreed that a train did come into the station at the time on the paper, and that it did stop, but only to take on mail, not passengers. The girl asked to see a timetable, feeling sure that her father could not have made such a mistake. The porter went to fetch one and arrived back with the station master, who produced it with a flourish and pointed out a microscopic O beside the time of the arrival of the train at his station. This little O indicated that the train only stopped for mail. Just at that moment, the train came into the station. The girl, tears streaming down her face, begged to be allowed to slip into the guard's van. But the station master was adamant. Rules could not be broken. And she had to watch the train disappear towards her destination while she was left behind.
So why did the girl miss the train? Because the train she wanted to catch was a mail train, not a passenger train. Poor girl, her parents had tried so hard to make her first journey successful. But her story is only a part of this text. This text is actually about punctuality. The text starts with a familiar argument that punctuality is necessary in civilized society. But notice that it presents a lot of arguments going against it. For example, The author says that only those people who don't want to waste time will allow very little time to keep an appointment. But unexpected situations will often make them late. The author argues that they are more useful citizens than those who are never late, and he calls those who always arrive at an appointment too early as the greatest nuisance. Of course, in the second paragraph, he says that if we are traveling, better allow enough time, or better be too early than too late. And then he gives us the example of this girl who was punctual but still missed the train, indicating that sometimes punctuality can fail us. So in a sense, this text is more about the complexity of punctuality. Let's first look at some language points. Only in a sparsely populated rural community is it possible to disregard it. Only here is put at the beginning of the sentence, so that you see there's an inversion. 所以我们看到句子有倒装。Its normal order should be, it is possible to disregard it only in a sparsely populated rural community. A sparsely populated rural community is one with a small number of population. Sparsely means a small number scattered in a large area. For example, the area is sparsely inhabited because the land is poor. 因为土地贫瘠，所以这个地区人口稀少。Our house is still sparsely furnished, which means our house doesn't have too many pieces of furniture right now. Is it possible to disregard it? Disregard means ignore. The usual collocations include disregard a habit, or disregard social conventions, or disregard customs. Here it is disregard the convention of punctuality. Some tolerance of unpunctuality, the opposite of punctuality, and punctuality appears as the first word in this text. Punctuality is a necessary habit in all public affairs in civilized society. Its adjective form is punctual, being on time. For example, one is expected to be a punctual person in civilized society. The intellectual who is working on some abstruse problem has everything coordinated and organized. An intellectual is a highly educated person whose major works are involved with studying or careful thinking. 相当于中文的知识分子。Intellectual is also the adjective of intellect. Intellect refers to the ability to think intelligently, 理性或者说智性。For example, your writing should appeal more to the intellect than the emotion. 你的文章应当诉诸智性或者说理性，而不是情感。My job doesn't provide much intellectual stimulation. My job doesn't have too much stimulation in the intellect. Notice that intellect means differently from intelligence. Intelligence refers to the ability to understand or to learn, judge. 智力. IQ is actually the initials of intelligence quotient, 就是智商. Its adjective form is intelligent, which means bright, clever. For example, she was an intelligent student at school. Who is working on some abstruse problem. Abstruse means very difficult to understand, 深奥的. For example, you can describe a philosophical essay as abstruse. Has everything coordinated. Coordinate means make various things or parts work effectively as a whole. 协调. For example, we need someone to coordinate the whole project. The matter in hand. In hand here means something important at this moment. We'll look at more examples. I wish you could concentrate on the job in hand. I wish you could concentrate on the most important job right now. I've got enough money in hand now to buy a new car. Enough money in hand means enough money available. They have had plenty of time to prepare, so the arrangements should be in hand. In hand here means ready. Their only fault is cutting things fine. Cut things fine means allow very little time or money to do something. For example, she arrived 10 minutes before her flight, so she was cutting a bit fine. Before setting out to keep an appointment. Keep an appointment means to remember to go to an appointment that you have already made. Let's look at more examples about how to use the word to express different things related to an appointment. I'd like to make an appointment with Dr. Wilson, please. To set up an appointment at certain time or place, you say, make an appointment with somebody. I'm afraid I'll have to cancel my dental appointment. If you can't make your appointment, you cancel the appointment. If he didn't have a secretary to remind him, he wouldn't keep any of his appointments. He wouldn't remember to go to any of his appointments already made. It's already the second appointment I have missed. Miss an appointment, fail to catch up with the time of the appointment. Diversions of traffic. Diversion here means the change of route or direction of traffic. I'll give you one more example. The diversion of the railway line is likely to take at least a year. It refers to the project of changing the railway route. Diversion can also mean taking your attention away. For example, does your city have any diversions apart from pubs and nightclubs? Diversions refer to those places which can take your attention on work away, referring to entertainments. The overpunctual can be as much a trial to others as the unpunctual. Trial here means the person or thing that causes a lot of trouble or problem. For example, he was a real trial to his parents when he was young. He was a real troublemaker, headache, or problem to his parents. Trial by jury is a fundamental right. Here, trial is being used with its most basic meaning, 审判。陪审团的审讯是最基本的权利。She's having a 3-month trial, and if she's good enough, she'll be given a permanent job. Trial here refers to the period of time when her abilities were tested. 试用期。It's always better to be comfortably early than even a fraction of a minute too late. Comfortably here means sufficiently, allowing enough time. Look at this example. The car can hold 5 persons comfortably, which means the car has sufficient space for 5 persons. Comfortably means enough. The jaw goes in and out comfortably. Here, comfortably means easily. A fraction of a minute too late. Fraction means a small amount or a small part of something. A fraction of a minute too late means a very short time too late. Look at this example. She hesitated for a fraction of a second before responding. Means she almost didn't hesitate at all before responding. Look at this one. Can you open the window just a fraction? Can you open the window just a little bit? The train is drawing out of the station. Draw out is often used to describe vehicles moving out. For example, the cars drew out one by one as the party was over. Drew out means the cars moved out one after another. The opposite direction would be draw in or draw into. For example, she looked eagerly along the platform as the train drew into the station, as the train moved into the station. Such an experience befell a certain young girl. Befall is a literary word, meaning happened to somebody. For example, should any harm befall me, you must take care of my son. If any harm happens to me. Notice that befall is usually used to describe something bad. Before the train was due. Be due means be expected to arrive at a certain time, or be expected to happen at a certain time. For example, the rent is due on the 5th of every month. So you must pay the rent on the 5th of every month. The meeting is due to be held in 6 months' time. The meeting is expected to be held then. Her parents had impressed upon her that it would be unforgivable to miss it. Impress upon somebody means make somebody realize the importance of something. For example, she's always trying to impress upon me or impress on me how much easier life is if one is organized. She's always trying to make me realize the importance of being organized. She felt in her handbag for the piece of paper. Feel here means to touch something in order to discover it. Let's look at more examples. It's freezing here. Just feel how cold my hands are. Just touch my hands. Feel in the bottom of the letterbox for the keys. Put your hand in the bottom of the letterbox to search for the keys. And there's a phrase of feel one's way. For example, the room was so dark that I had to feel my way to get to the door. This text is entitled Too Early and Too Late. The text actually has given us a lot of different ways of expressing time. Let's look at them. The overpunctual can be as much a trial to others as the unpunctual. Overpunctual actually is another way to say too early, and unpunctual, naturally, late. The guest who arrived half an hour too soon. Too soon is another way of saying too early. An even harder situation is to be on the platform in good time. In good time means being early. And there's a comparison between being early and being late. It's always better to be comfortably early than even a fraction of a minute too late. Comfortably early is a more precise expression. Not too early, but early enough. And a fraction of a minute too late is an exaggeration, emphasizing that however a little bit late in some situations is equal to too late.
At the beginning of the text, I mentioned that this text is more about the complexity
of punctuality. Notice that when the author is talking about how important punctuality can be sometimes, he uses the example of trains. Because trains, when they first came into being, helped to form the idea of punctuality. In a sense, trains help to change people's sense of time, just as our sense of time has been changing and still is being changed by the internet. Things taken years to be accomplished now can be finished within minutes. So the sense of time is relative to the speed of transport, the speed of communication, science and technology. But fundamentally, of course, we have always experienced time in the same way because we are mortals. So we always exclaim, how time flies, or how time and tide won't wait for anybody. So am I going to say the same thing to you now? It has been a great pleasure to be with you all this time, but it's also a great regret that this is only a virtual classroom. But please allow me to stress that language proficiency also grows along with time. I remember that once when Alexander was asked about the shortcut to English study, he answered, read, read, and read. That is also the last words I'm going to say to you. So long, you have all my best wishes.